Was Russia really involved in making Donald Trump president of the United States? We have two books that give you different views.
Informed, Non-Inflamed. Politics.
And hi, everybody. John Daly here with some Informed, Not Inflamed. We use the Royal system here, which is ROIL, meaning read, observe, interview, and learn. The read portion of the Royal system means you need to read books to understand what is really going on. Unfortunately, because everything is so partisan, you need to read twice as much to see both sides of an issue so you can decide what is true and what isn't. I have read two more books that give differing views on whether Russia was involved in the 2016 election. The first is The Russian Hoax by Greg Jarrett, a Fox News anchor and contributor who is also a lawyer. The other book is called The Plot to Destroy Democracy. It's by Malcolm Nance, a former U.S. naval officer involved in national security and counterterrorism, and currently an MSNBC analyst. So you have an analyst from Fox News and an analyst from MSNBC. It is still worth reading both of them because they do have credentials, and the reads, they're actually pretty compelling. However, they have totally different views of Russia and Trump. And I think one of them makes a more compelling case. I will tell you which one. Now, Jarrett, in The Russian Hoax, seems to use the legal definition of collusion as a defense for Trump. As he mentioned, talking to Russians doesn't mean that you are working with them against the United States. The Mueller report has conclusions that back that. Jarrett also points to FBI Director James Comey's efforts, which he describes as partisan, trying to tie Trump to Russian espionage efforts that eventually led to his firing, helping to spur the Mueller investigation. Jarrett admits that Russia was meddling in the election, as he says, as they have probably done in years past. They just seem to be doing it better now. Jarrett also says there's no conclusive evidence that anybody in the Trump campaign or Trump worked directly with the Russians to make this happen. The Mueller report backs that, while still pointing to Russian efforts to affect the vote toward Trump. Meanwhile, Nance, in The Plot to Destroy Democracy, uses his intelligence sources to document a long history of Trump and his enterprises in connection with Russia. He mentions the Steele dossier, along with Fusion GPS, as evidence. Now, even though the Steele dossier is debunked by most Republican, most reports will tell you that 70% of what they found in their opposition research is accurate, while 30% cannot be corroborated. Nance goes into detail of how the Hillary Clinton emails and its information were released to rile up Bernie Sanders voters. That info was leaked at various times during the 2016 campaign that coincided either with what Donald Trump said on the stump or when negative information about Trump, namely the Access Hollywood pussy tapes, were released. And it worked. As I have mentioned before, studies show that 10% of Bernie voters voted for Trump, enough to sway the election. As Nance points out, coincidence takes a lot of work. His knowledge of Russia's worldwide hacking and espionage efforts are very convincing. For instance, he mentions that much of the hacking done by ISIS was backed by the same hacking organization inside Russia. Now, after reading both, in my view, Nance makes a better case here. Jarrett does point out the problems with Hillary's emails as Secretary of State and the problems of her trying to raise money for the Clinton Foundation. There's little to dispute there. Jarrett also has a good grasp of the laws, and he makes a case that Hillary probably should have been indicted for some of those violations that other people had gone to jail for. But too often, Jarrett quotes many of his overly partisan colleagues at Fox News, such as Joseph DeGeneva, which shows a lack of balance. Jarrett also seems to use Hillary's bad judgment as a complete dismissal of Donald Trump and his Russian connections, which actually seem so blaringly obvious. Trump's firing and criticism of Comey misses the fact that Comey actually got Trump elected. The fact that Comey publicly reopened problems with Hillary's emails a week before the election that proved to be nothing, while also never mentioning that there was an FBI probe into Trump's Russian dealings at the same time, which clearly changed the public vote. There is also enough evidence to show that Mitch McConnell would not allow or go along with President Obama's wish to release information about Russian election meddling. Many of Trump's and his Republican allies' actions after the election also seem to verify a lot. Trump clearly seems to cozy up to Vladimir Putin. About a dozen U.S. senators actually spent July 4th in Moscow working with Russian officials. These are conservative GOP lawmakers who have become strong Trump allies. They appear to be leaning to a more nationalistic point of view, which is espoused by other leaders like Vladimir Putin and other right-wing leaders throughout the world. Trump's efforts to convince Ukraine to investigate Joe Biden and Hunter Biden to show that it was Ukraine, not Russia, meddling in the U.S. elections, even though most intelligence reports say the opposite. Now, could this be sour grapes on the Democrats' part? Sure. But there are too many comments and behaviors from Donald Trump that make a lot of people, myself included, think that he is looking to create more of a dictatorship and destroying democracy to help a few supporters and businesses, along with a growing portion of Americans who are looking for more order in our government. The bad part is that it is excluding so many other Americans who are not politically connected to this president or his wing of the Republican Party. Now, granted, I have a news background, so when I see well-researched theories that are inclusive of all Americans, I have a bias towards them. Nance seems to do that more than Jarrett. Again, the two books are The Russian Hoax by Greg Jarrett and the second book, The Plot to Destroy Democracy by Malcolm Nance. Give me your take. You won't hear all of this on cable news, so subscribe to my Facebook page. It's Facebook at Informed Not Inflamed, and also my Twitter page at John Daily News. Follow my pages for 15 minutes a day, and you will get more news than watching 4 hours of cable news. Check out my instructional videos on how to get quickly informed. Watch them on informednotinflamed.com. That is Informed, Not Inflamed.
For more on John Daly, go to informednotinflamed.com.